Have you ever lost or misplaced your keys? It's happened to me quite a few times. So let's say that I want to write a simple JavaScript program to help me track all the information about my keys. For example, I want this program to keep track of two pieces of information, last location and who used the keys. I could add two variables like this. Let last location equals the living room. Let last used by equals me. Okay, so now I have the information I need, and when I want to check the data about the keys, I can just type those variable names in the console. Typing last location and pressing the enter key returns the value of the living room, and typing last used by and pressing the enter key returns the string of me. This way to track the keys might be good enough until I have another pair of keys to track. For example, let's say that I want to keep track of my house keys and my car keys. This means that the previous variables are not as useful because I need a way to know which keys the variable is referencing. Here's a wrong way to do it. I'm showing you this wrong way to do it because that's, I guess, the only way that you could do it given the knowledge you've learned so far. Okay, so here goes. I'll declare four new variables as follows. Let car keys last location equals the living room as a string, and I'll press the enter key. Let car keys last used by equals me. Let house keys last location equals the kitchen, and let house keys last used by equals my wife. Okay, this will probably work. But the issue that I'm having with this is that I'm using some variable names to signal that those variables belong together. In other words, the variables that belong to the car keys have names that begin with the word car keys, and the variables that belong to the house keys have the names that begin with the word house keys. However, even this is not the best approach. Imagine for a second that both me and my wife have two cars each. This would mean that I would have to name my variables as follows. My car 1 keys last location, my car 2 keys last location, my wife's car 1 keys last location, my wife's car 2 keys last location. This is definitely not the right way to do things. The reason boils down to the following. As the number of cars increases, so do the variable names get longer and less maintainable. By maintainable, think about the issues I'd have if I was coding, for example, an app that would track keys for 10 vehicles. Perhaps I would be coding an app for a car dealership. And let's say that the task was to track the keys using the approach I've been describing so far. Well, in JavaScript, a nice solution to this problem is the use of objects. The easiest way to build an object in JavaScript is to just type an opening curly brace, that is, a left curly brace, and then immediately after it, add a closing curly brace, that is, a right curly brace. What I've just built is an empty object. When I press the enter key, JS reads my code and, like I've explained in part 1 of this bootcamp, it evaluates it to its simplest possible representation. In this case, it returns an empty object. So, I gave it an empty object, and it evaluates it to an empty object. This object now exists somewhere in the JavaScript world. It doesn't do anything. You can think of it as an empty bag, but it does exist in the JS world. The problem with this empty object, this empty bag, is that I want to put some things in it, but I have no way of accessing it. This is where variables show their purpose. Remember that I've taught you in part 1 of this bootcamp that variables are used to store values? Well, I guess now I can make this definition a bit better by telling you that variables are a way to get values from memory whenever we need them. So, let me add an empty object that I'll be able to actually reach. I'll name this object my car keys, and I'll type let my car keys equals an opening brace and a closing brace. Alright, and now that I have this object stored in memory, as you've already learned, I can retrieve it using the variable name of my car keys, like this. I type my car keys and press the enter key. And this returns that empty object from memory. I can also update the value that the variable is binding to using the variable name and the assignment operator, such as my car keys equals 5. Now I can get the current value of the variable by simply typing it again, or pressing the up arrow key here in the console until I reach it, and then pressing the enter key. And I get back the value of 5 of the number data type. Alright, so after this quick refresher, let me get back to setting my car keys variable to an object. However, this time, before I do that, I want you to think about what I'm trying to achieve here. Okay, so now I need to somehow, so to say, convert the separate variables that held the information about my car keys into a single variable, that is, a single object. To do that, I need to use the key value syntax, which works as follows. Okay, so first, here's an empty object, an opening brace and a closing brace, and now let me point the cursor in between these two curly braces and pressing the Shift-Enter keyboard shortcut so that the code expands on the next line without it being ran by the JavaScript engine. And then I'll type location, colon, double quote, kitchen, double quote. So, location without the quotes, then a colon character, then a space, and finally the string of kitchen. And now, let me assign this object to the myCarKeys variable, so I'll go back to the top here and make sure my cursor is all the way to the left. Since I know that JS already has the myCarKeys variable in its world, there's no need to declare it again. Instead, I'll just type myCarKeys, then a space, then an equal sign, a space, and now I'll press the enter key to have this code ran. This brings me to the end of this video. Let me finish it by running the typeof operator on the myCarKeys variable here. So I'll type typeof and then the myCarKeys variable in a pair of parentheses, and I'll press the enter key. And it reports it as an object. In the next video, I'll discuss this concept of key value pairs further.